Back to another IELTS Writing Task 1 lesson. In this video lesson, you're going to watch me write a full Task 1 report from start to finish. This is going to be the full process of receiving the question, analysing the visual information and data, and then moving on to writing a plan and, of course, the Task 1 report. Unlike other lessons in IELTS 7+, I'm recording this live, so I may need to correct myself at certain points throughout this video lesson. If you do find this type of lesson useful, then please let me know, because I can create more lessons like this to help you in your IELTS preparation. Okay, before we move on to take a look at our question, let's take a look at a features checklist. This features checklist is an 8-point guide for some things that you must include in your IELTS Task 1 report. In red, we have features that cover the band descriptors of task achievement and cohesion and coherence. So the red features are all about answering the question and organising your report. In green, we have features that cover vocabulary and grammar. As I'm going through the process of writing my report, I can use this features checklist to make sure that I've included some of the most important parts of my report. I suggest that you also try and use a features checklist like this when you are practicing writing your report. Of course, on the day of your test, you won't be able to use one, but it's really good to try and use one of these whilst practicing your writing. So that's all for the features checklist. Let's move on to the question that I'll be answering today. The pie charts below show energy production in Spain in 2008 and 2017. Summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So before I even start writing a plan, I'm just going to spend a minute looking over the data. On the left, we have a pie chart which is energy production in Spain for 2008. On the right, we have the same information but for the year 2017. In 2008, I can very quickly see that oil and coal make over 50% of energy production. Gas is at 22%, and not quite as important, we have renewables, nuclear and other. In comparison, in 2017, I can see that oil and coal have both decreased. Nuclear's increased by 6%, gas increased by 1%, renewables and other, it looked like they both nearly doubled. So that's just me quickly taking a shot at the data and getting a better idea of what I will need to write in my report. It's now time for me to write a quick plan. Okay, so let's start writing our plan, and I'm sure that you remember the structure we use for this plan. Remember, it's a very quick thing to write. So the first thing I want to do is to group my data into two different groups, Group 1 and Group 2. My initial thoughts are to go with 2008 and 2017. But I don't think that's great because it will make it more difficult to compare between the 2 years. So I think it makes more sense to go with fossil fuels, which is oil, coal and gas, and then to go with everything else, which is other renewables and nuclear. Just for the sake of this plan, I'll just put others. So they're my two groups, fossil fuels and everything else. The next thing I want to do for my plan is to write a bit of an overview just to give me a general idea. I'm going to want to write something for fossil fuels. So generally, I can see there is an overall decrease in the use of fossil fuels, which is, understood. And then we'll go to others, which is other renewables and nuclear. And overall, there is an increase in use of everything else. Okay, so that's my plan finished. Okay, so it's now time for us to write our full task 1 report. You can see that I have my pie charts here, and I have the question and the features checklist, which I'll try and make sure I'm using throughout the process of writing this report. We'll begin with the paraphrased introduction. So I need to rewrite the first part of this question. The pie charts below show energy production in Spain in 2008 and 2017. So let's begin my introduction paragraph or sentence. The pie charts, I can just keep that the same, as really they only have one name. The pie charts below show, let me try and change the wording of this and paraphrase it. The pie charts represent the types and amounts of energy produced in Spain in 2 separate years. And I might add a hyphen just to change my grammar somewhat. 2008 and 2017. So that is my introduction paragraph complete. I now need to move on to my overview paragraph. And you'll remember in the plan, I split this into fossil fuels and everything else. So as always, let's begin with overall. We can see that fossil fuels saw a decrease in use between the years of 2008 and 2017. Looking at mixed openers, let's try and use something else to start our discussion about the other types of energy. On the other hand, that's a great way to compare two different things. On the other hand, other types of energy produced, such as nuclear, saw an increase in production. There we go. So that is my overview paragraph complete. Let's now move on to our detail paragraph. And I'm sure you'll remember from the plan that group 1 was oil, coal and gas, or fossil fuels. So I'm going to talk about fossil fuels in these 2 years in my first detail paragraph. Let's make a general statement for fossil fuels in 2008. In 2008, one moment, I will just make this slightly smaller to fit everything on screen. In 2008, fossil fuels, which are oil, coal and gas, and you can see here by adding these separate pieces of information that I'm actually using a mix of sentence types, which are oil, coal and gas, made up the largest portion of energy produced in 2008. The figure, so I'm going to go into a figure now, be more specific in my details. The figure stood at 27, 28, 22. So we can say that that is just over 75%. The figure stood at just over 75%. I should say that when you are quoting figures, you need to make sure that you are being accurate, or you will lose marks in task achievement. So let me just check this again. Yeah, that's 77. Okay, a figure that stood at just over 75%. In comparison, and it's good to make comparisons in your report, this figure dropped. I'm going to use an adverb now, so an adverb and a verb. Significantly dropped to, let's see, so we've got 23, 17, that makes up 30, 40, 63%. Significantly dropped to 63% of total use in 2017. So I've given an overall picture of fossil fuels, which is my first group. And now I'm going to go into even more detail and discuss each type of energy separately. So let's start with oil. We'll start with coal, which is the largest amount, and I'll describe the drop. So in 2008, coal was the largest type of energy used at 28%. It also saw 28%. So here we go. It also saw the largest drop in use in 2017 to 17%. Okay, so that is coal, and we have described that. We can now probably describe oil, as that also saw a decrease. Gas actually went up 1%, so we'll describe that last. But let's move on to oil. So oil fell from 27 to 23%. In the same way, and I'm using a different kind of opener here to make my report more interesting. In the same way, oil also saw a drop in production from 27% to 23%. And I want to show a difference in the trend here, because gas as a fossil fuel actually increased. On the other hand, and I'm really organizing my language now, gas rose slightly, I'm using an adverb, slightly rose by 1% in use. That's fine. I'm not going to give specific dates. On the other hand, gas slightly rose by 1% in use. Let's take a quick look at our features checklist. So I have the paraphrased introduction and the overview. I've done my first detailed paragraph. Clear grouping. Yeah, I did that because I went in my plan with fossil fuels and other types of energy, so it's clear to see. And for the other points, let's take a look. Adverb and verb. Yeah, I've definitely been using adverbs and verbs. Adjective and noun. Let's take a look for that. I can see here largest portion, that covers that one. So I've ticked all these boxes. A mix of openers. Yes, I've definitely done that so far. And mix of sentence types. I've got some simple sentences, complex sentences. So I'm using different structures. In terms of sentence types, we'll be going more detail in the next section of the course. So don't worry too much if you don't know a lot about that yet. Okay, so let's move on to my second detailed paragraph, which is describing other, renewables, and nuclear. I can start this off by saying other types of energy used in Spain, and I'm going to use brackets, which again is, the grammar aspect of this report. I'm using different punctuation to add detail. I'll put nuclear, renewables, and other. One moment, there's a spelling mistake there. You also must make sure that your spelling is accurate throughout this report, which also saw the largest drop. Okay, so other types of energy used in Spain, nuclear, renewables, and other were less used in 2008, but saw an overall increase in use in the next, how many years? Between 2009 years. Okay, so that's a kind of overall statement to start off paragraph 2, detail paragraph 2. I'm now going to go into more detail. I will start with other, which moves from 3% to 6%, and that is actually a double amount in rise. So I'm going to write that in my report. Other types of energy production rose, doubled in use from 3% to 6% in 2017. And renewables actually almost doubled as well. So I'm going to say that it's a similar increase. Likewise, renewable energy sources almost doubled too, from 9% to 16% of total use. Nuclear also saw an increase in energy production from 11% to 17%. Okay, so they're my two detail paragraphs. Let's have a read back through and make sure everything is there. So let's take a read back through. The pie charts represent the types and amounts of energy produced in Spain in two separate years, 2008 and 2017. Overall, we can see that fossil fuels saw a decrease in use between the years of 2008 and 2017. That's my fossil fuel sentence. And the other types? On the other hand, other types of energy produced, such as nuclear, saw an increase in production. Okay, so that's definitely these two boxes ticked. And I know that I've got the detailed paragraphs in clear grouping. So these are very much ticked off my features checklist. In 2008, fossil fuels, which are oil, coal and gas, made up the largest portion of energy produced in 2008. The figure stood at just over 75%. In comparison, this figure significantly dropped to 63% of total use in 2017. In 2008, coal was the largest type of energy used at 28%. You can see that I'm really being specific about details and times. It also saw the largest drop in use in 2017 to 17%. In the same way, oil also saw a drop in production from 27%, which is here, to 23%. And I've got this opener, which I like. On the other hand, gas slightly rose by 1%. Other types of energy used in Spain, nuclear, renewables, and other, were less used in 2008, but saw an overall increase in use in the next 9 years. Other types of energy production doubled in use from 3% to 6% in 2017. Likewise, renewable energy sources almost doubled too, from 9% to 16% of total use. Nuclear also saw an increase in energy production from 11% to 17%. So that really brings us to the end of this Task 1 report live writing session. Please do let me know if you found this useful, because I want to keep creating lessons for you to help with your IELTS preparation. All the best. If you've got any questions, please do contact me, message me, use the Q&A feature. See you in the next lesson.